Welcome back, everyone. It's time for Deep Dive number 8 into the FrandsenFiles Compendium.
Oh, this is going to be a good one.
Yeah, we're covering entries 71 through 80. And big thanks to Bald and Bonkers Network LLC for making it happen.
You know, I got to hand it to Frandsen. The guy really listens to his audience.
He does.
He knows people are hungry for more background on him, and he delivers in these entries. Big time.
Oh, yeah. We do some personal history, a closer look at his allies, and do we get to meet some new enemies?
Buckle up, everybody. This is where things get really interesting.
Let's jump right in with entry 71, misconceptions and biases of supernatural beings.
Yeah, right off the bat, he's challenging all those assumptions we have about angels and demons and extraterrestrials. Like he's saying, hey, don't box these beings in. They're more complex than you think.
He really stresses that case-by-case evaluation.
It's just huge. Like, how many times have we heard that all angels are benevolent protectors?
Yeah.
Well, Frandsen throws that right out the window. He's got examples of angels acting with indifference or even straight-up hostility towards humans. Like, whoa, what?
So much for guardian angels, huh?
Right, and it's not just angels. He flips the script on demons, too.
Oh, yeah, I was going to say he talks about demons showing remorse,
Yeah.
even acting morally in some cases.
Yeah, which blows that whole all demons are evil thing wide open. Makes you wonder if our understanding of these beings is just way too simplistic.
So you're saying those preconceived notions could actually hinder our ability to understand them?
Absolutely. Frandsen's all about individual evaluation, looking at each entity's unique motivations, their circumstances, instead of just slapping on those broad, generalized labels.
That makes sense. But what about demonic lore? He suggests some of it could be rooted in human trauma.
This is where things get really deep. He theorizes that some demons might have once been human.
Wait, like humans actually transforming into demons?
It's a wild thought, but Frandsen connects their lore back to survivor accounts of intense suffering. Like echoes of that trauma kind of get woven into these demonic figures.
So maybe some demons are seeking redemption or release from their own torment?
It's a fascinating possibility, and it completely changes how we might approach these entities.
Okay, so we've got angels and demons, but entry 71 also covers those misconceptions surrounding extraterrestrials.
Right, and he takes aim at those oversimplified labels we use like Greys or Nordics. He points out the flaws in using constellations to define them, saying it's all relative to our perspective from Earth.
So are you saying even our attempts to categorize extraterrestrials could be flawed?
Exactly. It's like we're trying to fit this vast, unknown universe into these tiny little boxes that we've created.
Yeah, we might be misinterpreting their intentions or behaviors based on limited information.
He even brings up how some extraterrestrial groups, ones we typically view as good, actually have factions that have aligned with malevolent forces. I mean, talk about complexity.
It's a lot to take in. I guess the key takeaway is to approach the paranormal with an open mind and a willingness to challenge everything we think we know.
100%. Frandsen's approach encourages us to dig deeper, to be more discerning. Don't just settle for the easy answers.
Okay, all that's from just one entry. Now, entry 72, the bargain for souls, takes us on a wild ride. This is where we really see the risks Frandsen takes in his research.
Yeah, this one's like a supernatural thriller, for real. He publicly links the Lord of Shadows, this crazy, powerful entity, to the biblical figure Cain. And then all hell breaks loose.
During a live stream, right?
Yeah, imagine watching a live stream and suddenly the people on screen start experiencing these intense physical and psychological effects.
That's been terrifying for everyone involved.
Absolutely. Frandsen manages to cut the connection somehow, but the threat is still out there. So what does he do? He digs into the psychology of the Lord of Shadows, connecting it back to Cain and all that emotional baggage from the Bible.
He's profiling a supernatural entity. That's next-level detective work.
It is. And based on that, he makes this risky bargain, offering to create a documentary about the Lord of Shadows.
A documentary? In exchange for what?
Protection for a mutual acquaintance, the Reverend. This Lord of Shadows had been targeting him, so Frandsen steps in, uses his leverage, and negotiates a truce.
That is bold. But is he putting himself in more danger by making deals with this entity?
It's a gamble, no doubt, but he's strategic about it. He demands proof of good faith, and the Lord of Shadows actually backs off from the Reverend. Shows a level of intelligence and strategic thinking from the entity, too.
It's like a cosmic chess match.
With the highest stakes imaginable.
Because we see the fallout, right? The high school sweetheart's miscarriage, the vision of Frandsen's nephew's death.
Yeah, that's the heavy stuff. It really drives home that this isn't just some academic pursuit for Frandsen. It's real, and it has real consequences.
Not only for him, but for the people around him.
And amidst all this chaos, some unexpected allies emerge. His daughter, Olivia, she steps up as this protective force. And he performs a remote exorcism to protect Ash's friend from harm.
So he's got this whole supernatural support system we're just starting to understand.
Right, and then there's the bombshell that his star family has been secretly supporting him. You know, members of that Galactic Federation of Worlds he's mentioned before, the GFW.
Wait, GFW? I'm not sure I remember that.
Think of it like a cosmic United Nations keeping the peace across the galaxy. They've taken notice of Frandsen's work, and they've got his back.
So not just angels and demons, but galactic federations, too.
It's a lot, right? But it adds this whole other dimension to Frandsen's network. Makes you wonder about the GFW's motives, their involvement with Earth.
Yeah, so many questions.
Speaking of allies, Entry 73 gives us the chills. The silent hounds.
Oh man, those howls. Just thinking about them creeps me out.
Imagine you're going about your day, and suddenly you hear these wolves howling. But there are no wolves anywhere. And then, bam, something terrible happens to someone you care about.
It's like a curse.
That's Frandsen's reality. And he links it back to Marcosius, that demon he befriended, who initially appeared to him as a wolf. It's like Marcosius assigned these spectral hounds to watch over Frandsen, like a supernatural warning system.
And he's got documented cases where the howls precede all kinds of bad stuff. Encounters with the Lord of Shadows, the deaths of his unborn relatives, even interventions in domestic violence situations.
It's wild, right? Like a sixth sense for danger. But a very creepy one.
Makes you wonder if there are similar warning systems in other cultures.
Ooh, that's a good question. Like, maybe these ominous signs aren't just about fear. Maybe they're trying to wake us up to the unseen forces around us.
That's a fascinating thought, like a whole different way of interpreting these things.
So we've got enemies, we've got these mysterious protectors, and then Entry 74, it's like Frandsen lays out his entire alliance roster. And it is impressive.
Talk about a who's who of the supernatural and extraterrestrial.
Oh yeah. We've got living allies, like the emissary, this mysterious guide, intermediary type figure, and then L, Frandsen's partner, who's also an extraterrestrial incarnation.
And he mentions the moles, right? Like a secret network of informants.
Exactly. They feed him intel from all these different organizations. Then there are the deceased allies, those who still guide and support him from beyond the veil.
Like Tori, his deceased fiancé, and his grandfather.
Yeah, a reminder that love and connection can transcend even death. But then there are the demonic allies, which honestly is still kind of hard to wrap my head around.
Yeah, Marcosius we already knew about.
Yeah.
But even Lucifer himself.
This is where Frandsen's willingness to challenge interpretations really shines. He suggests that our modern concept of Satan might be a mishmash of different beings, with Samiel possibly being the true devil. And this version of Lucifer, he's not pure evil.
So they're allies because...
Shared concern for a mutual acquaintance, actually. And from the entries, it seems like Lucifer respects Frandsen's abilities. The whole thing just blurs those lines between good and evil.
Wow. And then, of course, we have the angelic allies. Michael the Archangel, Metatron.
It's like Frandsen operates outside the traditional boundaries of heaven and hell. He builds alliances based on shared goals and respect, not just those rigid categories we often impose.
And then there's his star family, his extraterrestrial wife and kids, and the Galactic Federation of Worlds providing tactical and medical support. The guy's got friends in high places, literally.
It really highlights how far-reaching his work is. And then there's the Silver Wings, the entity that saved him from the Dragon Man as a child.
Still a mystery whether it's Michael the Archangel or an extraterrestrial.
I know, right? It's a lingering question that adds to the intrigue. Like, there are these forces at play that we just don't fully grasp yet, operating beyond our current understanding of everything.
It's like we're just scratching the surface of this much bigger, more complex reality than we ever imagined.
And that's what makes the Frandsen Files so captivating. It pushes us to reconsider what's possible, to grapple with the implications of these extraordinary experiences. Welcome back to our deep dive into entries 71 through 80 of the Frandsen Files. Still can't get over that whole Alliance roster.
It's mind-blowing, isn't it? Like, who knew the paranormal world was so interconnected?
And before we go any further, I think we got to highlight something crucial. That willingness of Frandsen's to question everything, to dig deeper.
Yeah, that's a theme that pops up again and again in these entries.
It doesn't matter if he's talking about angels or demons or extraterrestrials. He's always pushing us to look beyond the surface, to challenge those easy answers.
It's what makes his work so unique, so valuable. He's not just telling spooky stories, he's making us think.
For sure. Okay, so let's talk entry 75, Close Encounter with the Airk. This one introduces a whole new extraterrestrial species, and their interest in Earth is, well, Kind of surprising.
Yeah, it's not about invasions or abductions. These, Eric, they're all about the minerals.
Like, they see Earth as this giant cosmic mining operation, just here for the resources.
And the encounter happens in Idaho, right?
Yeah.
A state known for its mineral deposits.
Exactly. Makes you wonder if a lot of these UFO sightings, especially the ones involving the Eric, are concentrated around areas with valuable geological stuff.
So ditch the cornfields, head to the mines.
Maybe. Frandsen even suggests that mapping those Eric encounters could help us discover new mineral deposits. Think of the implications for science and technology.
It's a whole different way of looking at extraterrestrial activity. Less about mystery and secrecy, more about, I don't know, practicality.
It challenges our assumptions, right?
Yeah.
Makes you wonder what else we might be missing by sticking to those old narratives.
All right, back to the demonic with entry 76. But this one's different. Frandsen tries to create a classification system for these beings based on their origins.
It's ambitious, right? But it shows how much he wants to understand these entities, to move beyond just labeling them as evil.
He breaks it down into 4 categories: the primordials, the fallen, the born, and the corrupted. Where do we even begin with all that?
Let's start with the scariest, the primordials. Think Lovecraftian horrors, ancient beings that predate even our concept of hell.
Oh, that sounds pleasant.
Not really. They're like the dark side of creation itself. Primal, chaotic forces.
Okay, so those are a hard pass. What about the fallen? Are we talking classic fallen angels here?
Yep. Lucifer, Marcosius, the ones who rebelled against heaven. Frandsen suggests that some still long to go back, while others have embraced their role as rulers of hell.
So even among the fallen, there's a spectrum of motivations.
Exactly. Then we have the born, demons native to hell, descendants of the fallen. They've never known heaven, so their whole perspective is going to be different.
It's like generations of demons, each with their own culture and experiences.
And lastly, the corrupted. Twisted human souls. Maybe the ones we encounter in hauntings or possessions.
They're the ones fueled by trauma and suffering.
Right. Their torment, their rage, it lingers, and it can cause disturbances in the physical world. It's a reminder that the scariest monsters sometimes aren't supernatural at all.
Yeah, they're born from human cruelty and pain. So what does this whole classification system tell us about Frandsen's approach to the demonic?
He's not content with simple explanations or fear-mongering. He's trying to understand the origins, the motivations, even the potential for these beings to evolve. It's about moving beyond fear and seeking understanding.
It's like he's creating a roadmap for navigating the demonic realm.
Exactly. Okay, let's switch gears and talk about Frandsen's personal history. Entry 77 takes us back to his very first paranormal investigation at 14 years old.
The Haunting of the Murtaugh Highway Department. I remember that one. It's crazy to think he was just a kid.
I know. But even then, he's resourceful, intuitive, setting up cameras, capturing EVPs. He even uses a karaoke machine as a spirit box.
Talk about thinking outside the box.
He's not just passively observing either. He describes feeling hands on his neck, seeing this transparent figure behind him.
Most kids would have run screaming at that point.
But not Frandsen. He even challenges the spirits, like daring them to trigger emotional alarm if they want him to leave. He's already setting boundaries, even at that age.
It's like he had this innate understanding of the paranormal, even as a teenager.
The case takes a darker turn, though, when his grandfather gets attacked. It's a reminder that these investigations aren't games. There are real risks.
Yeah, serious consequences.
But even at 14, Frandsen negotiates a truce with the spirits, promises to leave them alone if they stop the attacks. It shows his ability to communicate with these entities, to find common ground.
It's clear this early experience shaped him as an investigator.
Absolutely. He learned about respect, boundaries, the potential dangers. Okay, fast forward a few years to entry 78. Frandsen's diving into the CE5 protocols for extraterrestrial contact.
This is where he really starts actively seeking out contact.
Yeah, these CE5 protocols, they were developed by Dr. Stephen Greer. The focus is on human-initiated contact with ETs. And Frandsen, always the innovator, he gives it a shot.
He's broadcasting CE5 frequencies online, using spirit boxes to try to communicate directly. And viewers are capturing UFO sightings during his live streams.
And then he has that personal encounter with a large, black, diamond-shaped craft. It's all in the entry, meticulously documented.
These experiences, they suggest the CE5 protocols might actually work, that we can reach out to extraterrestrial intelligences and maybe even start a dialogue.
It's a mind-blowing concept. It challenges that whole passive observer narrative. Maybe we have more agency in this whole cosmic thing than we thought.
It's a hopeful idea.
It is, and it fits with Frandsen's whole approach to this research. He's not just waiting around, he's actively engaging, using every tool he can find to understand the universe.
All right, entry 79. Frandsen tackles his first poltergeist case at 16 years old, and this one leads him to coin the term post-traumatic psychosomatic manifestations, or PPM.
Here's where his interest in psychology really shines. He's called in for a haunting, but as he investigates, he realizes it's all connected to the client's abusive husband.
So no ghosts throwing stuff around.
Yep. It's the wife's subconscious psychic energy, a reaction to the trauma she's experiencing. And that's how PPM is born.
This is a huge realization. Not everything we perceive as paranormal is actually external. Sometimes the source is our own minds.
Right. The human mind is capable of extraordinary things, both positive and negative. It's a reminder that psychology plays a major role in these investigations.
How many other paranormal cases could be explained by PPM? It changes the whole game.
It blurs the lines between psychology and parapsychology, suggesting a deeper connection between our inner and outer worlds. And again, it's Frandsen pushing those boundaries, exploring new territory.
Last one for this part. Entry 80, Butch's True Nature. Things get a little darker here with the downfall of Frandsen's first team, the Paranormal Raider Force.
This entry is about ethics, about facing hard truths. Frandsen, still a teenager, discovers that one of his team members, Butch, has a history of violence and predatory behavior towards women.
It's a heavy situation for anyone, let alone a young investigator.
He's got this moral dilemma: ignore it and keep working with Butch, risking the safety of others. Or take a stand and potentially blow up his team and his reputation.
What a tough choice.
He does the right thing, confronts Butch, kicks him off the team, but it leads to the team disbanding, and Frandsen even faces backlash at school because of it.
Doing the right thing often comes at a price.
It does, but it speaks volumes about Frandsen's integrity. He puts ethics above everything else. It's a powerful message, and it's relevant for all of us, not just paranormal investigators.
This experience seems like a turning point for him. A hard lesson in choosing allies, setting boundaries, and confronting darkness, even within your own circle.
It's a lesson we can all learn from. Standing up for what's right is never easy, but it's always worth it in the end.
All right, final part of our deep dive into entries 71 through 80 of the Frandsen files. Man, what a ride it's been.
I know, right? Close encounters, demonic classifications, trips down memory lane. Frandsen's really opened up in these entries.
He has. So as we wrap things up, I want to focus on some key takeaways. What really stood out to you? What should listeners be thinking about?
Honestly, Frandsen's willingness to challenge everything, to look at the paranormal from all these different angles. He's not bound by traditional methods or interpretations. He brings in psychology, science, spirituality, even his own personal experiences. It's all part of the equation.
He's definitely a rule breaker. Like in entry 76, with that whole classification system for demonic beings, trying to bring order to chaos. It's a bold move.
Totally. He's not satisfied with just good or evil labels. He wants to understand their motivations, their hierarchies, the potential for them to change. It raises a ton of questions, but it opens up a whole new way of thinking about the demonic.
It's like he's creating a taxonomy of the supernatural, a way to categorize and analyze these entities in a more systematic way.
Exactly. And it's not just demons. He applies this approach to angels, extraterrestrials, even the human mind. He's always looking for those connections, those deeper meanings, in a world that often seems random and chaotic.
Entry 77, that haunting of the Murtaugh Highway Department when he was 14, it really shows how he operates. The resourcefulness, the intuition, even the guts to face those entities head on. It's pretty remarkable for a kid that age.
It's a glimpse into his development as an investigator. Already experimenting with different techniques, engaging directly with the spirits, even when things get physical.
You can tell he was drawn to the paranormal from a young age, like he was meant for this.
And it's not just curiosity. He's got this sense of responsibility, this desire to help, trying to negotiate with the spirits, to protect his grandfather, like he's sensing his calling.
And that sense of purpose just grows stronger as he gets older, right? Like with his exploration of the CE5 protocols in entry 78, he's not just waiting around for ETs to show up. He's actively reaching out.
It's a proactive approach. It reflects his understanding that humanity might have a bigger role to play in this cosmic dance than we thought.
Maybe we're not just passive observers. Maybe we can initiate contact, start a dialogue.
It's a hopeful thought, and it's very much in line with Frandsen's philosophy. He's all about active engagement, seeking understanding, not just sitting back and watching.
And that extends to his work with the demonic. He doesn't just fear them or demonize them. He wants to understand them, to see them as complex beings with their own motivations, maybe even the potential for change.
That classification system in Entry 76 is a perfect example, bringing order to chaos, looking for patterns and connections where others might just see darkness.
It's a challenge for us to expand our own perspectives, right? Maybe these entities aren't just pure evil. Maybe they're reflections of our own struggles or remnants of ancient beings we barely understand.
And that brings us to another key takeaway, that link between the psychological and the paranormal. Frandsen's concept of post-traumatic psychosomatic manifestations, PPM, it really highlights how powerful trauma and emotional distress can be.
Yeah, Entry 79, that poltergeist case, it drives that point home. What seems like a classic haunting turns out to be the client's own trauma manifesting as paranormal activity.
It's a reminder that not everything supernatural is external. Sometimes the source is within us, buried in our subconscious.
That's kind of a chilling thought, but also hopeful in a way, right? If our minds can create these phenomena, maybe we also have the power to heal and transform our reality.
It definitely suggests a deeper connection between our inner and outer worlds, and it emphasizes how important it is to address trauma and emotional well-being when we're trying to understand the unexplained.
Okay, before we wrap up, I got to bring up one last takeaway. The importance of integrity and ethical conduct in this field. Entry 80, Butch's True Nature, it's a reminder that the paranormal community has its share of darkness.
That experience with Butch, it was a tough one for Frandsen, but it highlights the challenges of navigating this often unregulated world. We have to be careful who we trust.
He had a choice. Ignore the situation and risk the safety of others, or stand up for what's right, even if it cost him everything. And he chose the right path.
It was a hard lesson, but an important one. It's about doing what's right, even when it's difficult, holding ourselves and others accountable.
And that's a message that applies to everyone, not just paranormal investigators. So, as we close out this deep dive, what's the one thing you want listeners to take away from all of this?
Approach the unknown with curiosity, but also with caution. Don't be afraid to ask questions, to challenge what you think you know. Be discerning about your sources of information, and always, always prioritize ethical conduct.
The paranormal, it's not just about ghosts and aliens. It's about exploring those hidden depths of our own minds, the connections that bind us all, the mysteries at the heart of existence.
Keep an open mind, a critical eye, and a sense of wonder. As Frandsen says, the truth is out there, but the journey to find it is just as important.
Couldn't have said it better myself. That wraps up our deep dive into entries 71 through 80 of the Frandsen Files. Big thanks to Bald and Bonkers Network LLC for making this exclusive content possible. And to our listeners, keep seeking, keep questioning, and keep exploring. We'll be back soon with more incredible insights from the Frandsen